Hi guys, this is Ristaniel. Today I'm going to be discussing the bone parts of the body. So first off, let's start with the cranium. It's the skull part of the body. That's what cranium is. Our next one is sturges. Is basically these stitching looking things on top of the skull that stretches back to the back of the skull and basically forming around the skull in certain parts. Our next one is the frontal bone. Is basically the frontal bone is the front of the skull here. That's what it is. This part. Next one is parietal bone. It's the basically the side part of the skull. This part of the bone of the skull. That's what it is. Our next one is temporal bone. It's the middle bone between the ear and the skull right here. I believe it's right here. Um, our next one is mandible bone. Is basically the jaw of the body. That's what the bone is. It's the jaw. Our next one is maxillaris. It's the upper jaw. Basically, it's this part up here where the nose socket is and the eye sockets are. That's what it means. Next one is volar bone. It's the small, thin bone separating the left and right nasal. So it's this small little bone that's right here, located in the nose, that separates our left and right nostril. Let's see. Our next one is palatine bone. It's the bones of the eye socket. It's basically this is bone right here is basically what it is. That's parental bones is that right here. Our next one is zygomatic bones. It's the bone that forms the permanent part of the cheek. So it's this part right here, this cheekbone. Our next one is sphenoid bone. It's basically it's the base of the cranium, the skull. So it's this part. I think it's this base. I think it's back here. I believe in the back of the skull, the base. From my understanding, that's where it is. Okay, our next one is ethmoid bone. It's a bone. It's the root of the nose. So it's basically this part right here, the root, I believe. Our next one is exophoid process. It's basically the lower end of the scrotum. It's this part right here. That's what exonoid is. It's this lower part of the scrotum. And this scrotum is basically this whole part right here, the chest area. That's where the scrotum is. Our next one is ribs. It's basically on the side of the scrotum here. The ribs will be located right here on the side and the rib cage right here. Our next one is calavis. It's basically the collarbone. It's basically this bone we see here that divides, that holds our scrotum and then connects our arms left and right. Our next one is humerus. It's that's what it says. Humerus. It's this upper part of the arm, this bone right here. Our next one is the radius. It's basically the thicker, shorter bone of the arm. This part right here. That's what it is. Our next one is ulna. It's actually the other thicker bone, the much larger bone of the arm. That's what it is. Our next one is carpals. It's basically the wrist region bone right here, the wrist parts. Okay, moving on. Our next one is metaphysis. It's basically the give me 1 second of the hand. Okay. It's this part right here of the hand, this part that joins us, this centerpiece right here that connects our fingers. Our next one is next one is the femorus. It's the bones of the fingertips here, or our toes. Our next one is cortex bone. It's basically this bone right here. It connects our right leg and our our left leg that connects it. This bone right here. Our next one will be aquibulum. Basically, it's the socket of the hip bone. So it's this socket right here where the hip bone goes to. That's where it is, this part. Next one is femur. Femur is the upper bone part of the leg. Our next one is patella. It's basically the kneecap where our knee is. That's where that means. Tibia is the between the knee. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. Tibia will be this part, I believe, this short, less thicker bone of the leg, and fibula is the thicker part and the much larger bone. Okay, our next one is conosis, I believe. It's basically the heel part of our leg, or foot. Our next one is metatarsals, I believe. It's basically it's the bones up here above the torso, right here. It's the bones up here, located right there next to the turbula. Our next one is palingenesis. I think again I repeated it. Sorry. Our next one is specula. Specula is the shoulder blade. Our next one is vertebral column. It's basically the spine you see right here that connects our back. Our back connects us to our legs and our main body here. Spine generator. Our next one is the intervertebral disc. It's the layer of cartilage separating the vertebra and the spine. So I believe it's somewhere right here in this general area. Our next one is carpal bone. It's the bone that forms the back and the back of the base of the skull. So it's this bone, I believe, here. That's what it is. And our last one is foramen magnum, I believe. So basically, it's the hole, the base of the skull, through which the spine and spinal cord passes. So I think it's this hole that connects us to our skull and our brain. So I believe that's all I have right here. So I hope you guys understand me, and see you next time for our next project. Thank you.